What's good, everybody? Aadi Academy back at it again. Today we'll be doing questions 1.63 and 1.64. So let's get straight to it. Question 1.63 is presidential elections. Here are the percents of the popular vote won by successful candidate in each of the presidential elections from 1948 to 2000. So essentially, if you read over the information, you'll see that part A asks to make a stem plot of the winner's percents, right? And so in order to make a stem plot, what you need to do is, as you can see to the right, here I'll zoom in a little bit, this is a stem plot. And essentially what we did to create this was we rounded each of the percents to a whole number, right? And then the first number in the percent would be on the left of the stem. That's what's called the stem. And then the numbers to the right, each of them are individual numbers. So if you see multiple numbers, they're each different numbers that correspond to the stem part, and those are called the leaves, right? So you see how at the top of the stem pot it says 433, right? So that's 43 and 43. So you can kind of see in the key over here, the number to the left is going to be the left number in the actual thing, and the number to the right is going to be the right number, right? So if you see 433, you can see that's just two 43s, right? And now some common misconceptions are, first of all, not using this key. As you can see, here's the key. It's very helpful for understanding this kind of thing. But not using the key is a great misconception, because if you don't have one, you can't really determine the placement of the stem and leaves, right? So instead of this being, say 43, as we established earlier, it could be like 4.3, or it could be like, basically the leaves on the right side could represent like a number of things. They could represent the ones place, or they could represent even the hundredths or thousandths place with decimals, And so make sure to keep in mind that you always have the key present. And then in terms of how to actually do it, you just draw kind of a line down the middle, and you draw the number that's going to be on the left in case you're using, two-digit numbers like we are. And then in this case, we round it to whole numbers. So for example, you can see numbers like in 1968, there was 43.4%, or in like 1992, there was 43.2, but we rounded both of those to 43, right? And then you can also see numbers that are like 49.7%, which we rounded to 50, which is why you see 2 or 3 50s, right? 3 50s in that stem plot. So the main misconception is not using a key, so just remember to always use the key. Now, part B is, what is the median percent of the vote won by successful candidates in presidential elections? Now, I think median is pretty self-explanatory. Basically, it's just the middle. So I think the one error that you can see in this calculation particularly, or sorry, one error you might encounter while doing it, is that if there's an even amount of points, you might see two numbers in the middle instead of one, and a lot of people don't know what to do with that, which is okay, because I trip up sometimes too when I'm doing it. But that's why I'm here for you guys, right? And so what you want to do when there's two numbers in the middle instead of one is you want to add those two together and divide by 2 then, so that you can kind of calculate the middle of those two, right? And so that's one error that people may make. But besides that, in order to calculate the median, all you really got to do is go from the left and right side all the way down to the middle, right? And then part C is also relatively self-explanatory. It's just finding, so it's saying that we basically need to find the numbers which are election landslides. So any numbers above the third quartile / are the third quartile, right? So in order to find the third quartile, as you can see in the note, all we really need to do is find the middle value between the median and the last value, right? So the median and the right outlier. And that middle value is going to be the third quartile. So in that case, you can see we narrowed it down to be 57.4%. And so now every number above 57.4% is considered a landslide victory, which is why we got, 57.4%, 61.1%, 60.7%, and 58.89% in 1956, 1964, 1972, and 1984, right? And so I think it's pretty self-explanatory. All we need to do is just figure out everything that falls above the third quartile. And going back to the last number, even though I told you how to solve it, I just want to rephrase and say that the answer to that last question was 50.4 as the median percent, which we calculated again by adding and then dividing by 2, since there was an even amount of numbers. Okay, let's go on to the next question. Aadi Academy, on to the second part of this lesson. Now we're on to question 1.64, right? Now this question is relatively easy, right? So let's just read it over. The histogram in figure 1.25. Okay, I'm sorry, I tried to do the Khan Academy voice. But basically it's saying the histogram shows a number of hurricanes reaching the East Coast over, a certain time period. And so it's asking for the brief description of the overall shape of this distribution, as well as where the center of this distribution lies, right? So in terms of shape, it's known as skew most of the times, right? If it's not, perfectly symmetrical or normal, it's known as skewed. Now, the most common misconception, including one that I really had when I was first learning this about statistics, is that when you're doing skews, wherever the data points are more common, the skew is that other side, right? So like you see how on this graph there are a bunch of data points, like the majority of the data points are on the left. That means that it's right skewed. So you may think, oh wait, no, they're all on the left. So doesn't that mean it's skewed to the left? I thought that too, but unfortunately it's always going to be the opposite side of wherever all the data points are kind of concentrated at, right? So that's a major misconception. But besides that, it's relatively easy. There's right skews, left skews, and in this case, this is a right skewed graph because we can see all of the data to this left side, right? And then the second part is where the center is, and this again is pretty self-explanatory. The center of this distribution is around 4 because, as the description says, it has the most years with 4 hurricanes. And so even if we just calculated the median really quickly and we go from both the left and right and we kind of go up like this, you will see that it ends up at 4, right? And so if we wanted to calculate the mean instead of the median, we could also just add up the number of hurricanes and then divide by, we could add up each number of the hurricanes and then divide by like the total number, right? And so it's all relatively simple. I think you guys should understand this. And then we can take a quick look at my script. Sorry. Yeah, here's my script. Again, you guys can take a look at this, go back to any questions, and don't hesitate to reach out to Aadi Academy if you have any questions. My email is 24voraa@wiltonps.org. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day. That sounds weird. Have a good day, guys.